All right, everybody, welcome back to Bold Parenting. My name is Silas.
And I'm Zane.
Dad, where are you?
Is he absent? Oh.
I'm actually here. We're trying to make a visual.
For a minute,
Nice.
Dad was absent.
The absentee father.
Oh, what a good
That'd be a
subject
good
for
name
today.
our podcast today.
Yeah, so we were getting a little too creative.
That was
in
way
between.
cheesier than I really wanted it to be. That was stupid. We're not starting over, people. People got to know.
Just got to keep
Man,
going
we're keeping
on.
it real.
Yeah,
All right.
be real.
Yeah. All right. Be
Are
real.
you okay over there?
I'm not okay. Bending down was like a mistake.
I told.
Here we go.
Welcome
Absentee fathers.
to the real us.
Mentally absentee fathers.
You can't help that one.
That's me.
And for some of you out there who might be like, Silas, you may not know what that exactly means. We're not talking about a father who's actually left, physically left, but a father
Like a single
that,
mom.
right, like a single mom raising kids. But in essence, that's kind of what ends up happening. We're going to talk about that today. But what we're talking about is...
Wait, before we started this, I was supposed to start this episode with, if you're new here, welcome. This is Bold Parenting, where
you're new.
we talk about parenting your children in a way that reflects Christ-like discipleship in your homes. Dad runs Future Men, a school where they get to disciple and vocationally teach young, struggling teenage boys. And
Boldly.
you've done that for 20 years,
24.
500 plus families, 24, dang.
Yep.
And I'm a dad of two. Zane works at Future Men and is
He's practicing to be a father.
I was going to say absentee father, but what's the opposite of absentee? Present father figure for 18
Many boys.
students at a time.
He does a great
And
job.
we're here to talk about Christ-like parenting. So that being said, today we're talking about absentee fatherhood.
And how to not be that guy.
Don't be that guy. It's not the guy you want to be. You'll get
No.
fired.
Yeah, I think we want to talk to both fathers who may be struggling with work-life, family-life balance, and then also moms who may see that and not really sure what to do. One of the reasons I brought this up is because I see this a lot in families that I work with. We have a lot of high-performing fathers, which is great. They provide for their families really well. They typically have jobs that require a lot of time
Yep.
and commitment. So whether it's like doctors or lawyers or businessmen in different fields.
Probably nurses.
Yeah.
Crickets chirping.
I didn't know
Actually,
guys
when
were nurses.
Are on, real
Oh.
nurses, right? They're on
Yeah.
12 hours straight, 24 straight. Well, it's
Yeah.
pretty rough. Like firemen.
Real nurses. That's crazy. Anyway, keep going.
Not that you're not, but maybe.
Right. And what we're
You're a
today, we're going to be able to focus this episode.
we
I
are.
know it.
Comment below if you don't want us to.
Yeah.
That just sounded weird. All right. Back to work. Come on, Zane.
What we don't want to do today is present some sort of ideal, you can only be a good father if you work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then you're home on the weekends and stuff. Because we know everyone's life looks different. Everyone's job looks a little different. But we do want to talk about this because I think a lot of fathers have kind of developed this idea that their main job is provision and protection in the family. And if they're fulfilling those, then their family's going to flourish and they're going to do fine. And I've talked to enough sons and their teens to know that this is a problem. So, Aaron, you've talked to many more than me. What has been your experience? What are some of the conversations that you've had with families, and this issue's been brought up?
Yeah, most of the time it's not that dads aren't physically there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get the jobs are busy. I was actually talking to a young man yesterday. His dad was a trucker for a while and on the road a lot, gone a lot, physically gone a lot. But reality is, okay, but when you're home, what are you doing? That's the bigger deal. So you just got to be you got to bloom where you're planted, as my mother-in-law used to always say. So you may have to be physically gone from your house if you're a fireman, if you're a trucker, if you're whatever you are. But you got to be thinking, okay, so when I am home, I've got to really pick up the slack, do my job. We at Future Men, we have sort of a joke with all the directors. It's like when they're off shift, we always say, now I'm going to my other job. And it's like neither one are like, necessarily more important or time-wise, whatever. They vary in how much time you're putting into each one. But like if God's given you the responsibility of a family, it's your family, right? And you got to do that. If God's given you the responsibility of you're a fireman, then when you're there, you're a fireman, right? You're all in when you're there. And when you're home, you're all in. And it's like, I think that's the biggest thing is just do your, I can't cuss on this podcast, but like do your job. And
wow.
I could say a little bit, but when like the moms are calling out the dads, it almost makes it worse. And I get it because they're desperate, they're hurting, right? But in theory, this is sort of goes back to like, okay, discipleship and church involvement for the father, right? Who's involved in his life that's calling him to account? Because actually, this kid I was talking to yesterday about his dad being a trucker, we were also talking about just accountability in our own lives. And I said, okay, so what's your screen time for this week on just, like this type of behavior? And when you're held accountable to that and he was looking at it, it's like, oh yeah, it's a little more than I thought. And that's how it always works. But with dads, it'd be like, okay, so if I'm discipling you or you're willing to have a conversation with me about your family, and I asked you point blank, how many times last week did you lead family worship? If you were home, right? When you were home. So maybe we look at like, okay, I was home 4 nights of the week where I could have done it. Great. Out of those 4, what did you do? And knowing that it's only 4, you got to redeem those other 3 days, sort of, right? It's like you can't help it. You're working. I get it. But like, are you being a good steward when you are home? That's the big thing. And I would definitely say involve your church in the sense of you need accountability on this. Because if your wife's doing it, it's like sometimes it has the opposite effect. It just sort of like pushes you away more because you feel not respected. You feel like you're a little bit embarrassed probably. And it's like, that ain't going to help. When your kids need you, she needs you. So getting other men involved, probably a better way to do this. At our church, we do a men's discipleship group. One of the things we do among many, I think, good things. But it's like, that's one of the things I'm telling the guys, like tonight we meet actually. But it's like, okay, in your accountability, even a younger guy can still ask an older guy, okay, you said this is where you're struggling. You said, you want to spend more time, doing X. Let's say it's discipling your 14-year-old. Did you meet this week? Why not? Was he gone? Was he home? What happened? Because if you don't have a plan, you're going to do nothing. So you need a plan. So to not be an absentee father, you got to have a plan of attack if you already are.
Yeah. I think the trope for a lot of years in America has been like the dad goes to work, the hardworking dad goes to work, comes home,
sits in his chair.
Yeah, sits in his chair, kicks his feet up, turns on the TV, has dinner in the living room. And that's kind of the way life is. And I think, to be fair, a lot of the people we would be talking to in our podcast are going to want to be more intentional than that, which is
great.
They
probably already are.
Yeah. I think one of the things that probably happens more often is they find something that they enjoy or they're good at, and they try to get their kids like involved in that.
Sure. That helps.
So, yeah. But my point is, a lot of times it ends up being like sports or like some sort of
We're
like
really
hunting
still not
or
involved.
something like that.
And that's only okay if it's golf.
Well, let's talk about that just briefly. Right. So, Dane, this is a good point.
Yeah.
So the hobbies you're choosing, because they are hobbies, right? They're not like your profession. We sometimes will say, yeah, but my kid, this may be a college, career for him if I develop his basketball skills now. Okay, great. Let's weigh it out. Let's see if he's born 7 feet tall. Yeah, probably so. It's probably worth looking at. The average kid, probably not. Hunting, same thing. Well, we put meat in the fridge. It's like, okay, that's fine. But like how much time, and in that, driving, are you discipling? Because you can be. That's fantastic if you are. And it's like not just the boys, the girls. I mean, anybody can be involved in that. That's not like, you're just weighing out. But for me, right, I had to realize a lot of my hobbies are extremely selfish. You really can't be done with most kids, at least not at different phases of life. Wood carving, guitar playing.
Driving the tractor.
Well, I have to do that for the stupid road. But like things that matter, right, that I want to do for fun. You just sometimes it's like, well, guess what? You're not going to have fun for a while because you got a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And that sounds like, I don't know, it sounds mean, I guess. But it's just reality of something's got to give. And typically it's, you can't be selfish. And I've heard parents say things like, or not parents, but people say things like, you need your man time. You need your time. And it's like, well, yeah, there's some rest that needs to happen. Sleep's a big thing, obviously, right? That's your time. You're sleeping. You're out. But like, even in my own worship time, I've found like, okay, I can't really read in the other room because the kids don't see it. They don't know what's going on. I got to kind of do this in front of them.
Yeah.
So like now when the kids go to bed, then I'll go to my room and I'll do a podcast or whatever I'm doing. But it's like if I'm doing that when they're awake, unless I'm involving them somehow, that's still time away from them. And I want them to see me growing spiritually, but you got to be careful how you even stack good things, right? So wood carving has come back into my life as my kids are older, right? Because now they can do it and they like it and it's fun. It's okay, great. I can involve the majority of my kids are either doing it with me or I know that night of the week, Lori's got some of the kids doing X. We're doing over here, just whatever X is. We're doing this over here. So it's justified as opposed to, hey, it's another night out with the guys. I'm going to go like, whatever it is that you're doing. It's like when you're raising kids, you really are dying to self for a while. You can't be
It's just not the same.
No.
I think that I don't know how we got jumped in out and straight on hobbies, but it's kind of a funny one. Like before we had the girls in the first year, like I would do a lot of triathlon, which was a horrible hobby to pick because it sucks. But now that they're like older, like, sad day, I just sold my bike the other day, like 2 days ago, actually. Because I'm like, the reality is it's a sport where you train for like sometimes like if you're doing like when we were training, we were doing like 15 hours a week. And there's not really a world where you can justify working a full-time job and coming home and pursuing a hobby 15 hours a week while your wife has the kids or the kids are just sitting around doing nothing or not being with you. And I think that if you're a dad listening to this, the point isn't don't have a hobby necessarily. The point is you might not be able to have your favorite hobby. Your hobby might be, reading books to your kids for a while. Well, sorry. But there's also like, I don't want to like shut you down either. Cause there's also like hobbies you can justify with kids. Like, okay, this is kind of stupid, but like golf, right? I'm like, hey, we should learn golf right now because I'm saying this to my wife. Cause I'm like, cause you can learn, we can do it together. Cause when I was doing triathlon, it also wasn't with her, which is also, can also be a huge problem. And it is like one of those things you can do with your family, sort of like you can take anything too far. But I think when it becomes like, hey, I'm going golfing again this weekend with my buddies, and you go play a full round of golf, it's like 8 hours on a Saturday, and now you just gave yourself a new job, and that you're not getting paid for, that you're actually investing a lot of money into to spend time away from your family. And so I think the point is don't have fun. The point is not don't have fun. The point is not this is the end of your whole life. It's that your life changes a lot, and you kind of have to get over yourself in the sense that you might not have as much fun. This might not be as much like what you enjoy. But like your hobby for a while growing up in the summers was take us all to the creek and we'd all just swim. And I don't think that's exactly what you want. But you can have fun in that. You can, you would skip rocks, teach us how to skip rocks. And it's like, would you rather have been carving? Probably. Is going to the river a bad thing? Well, it can be kind of fun, I think. I don't know. You tell me, I guess. Maybe did you hate all those days?
Pretty much.
Oh, good.
No, but I think it's just, again, it's counting the cost. That's the biggest thing here. So a lot of people don't count the cost, and they just sort of like have kids willy-nilly, or they just like they'll accept like a job change, or they'll invest in a hobby or something, not realizing. Well, because here's another hobby, right? We're watching this thing. It's a video on like social media stuff, and it was called Captivated. It was put out a while back. It's kind of old now, but it's like the material's still fantastic in my opinion. But the guy says something at one point. These guys, like he's into race cars and he's a mechanic, and he says, on Saturdays I would spend 8 hours, and Sundays same thing, 6 to 8 hours watching these events on television on the weekend. So my kids are like, basically, Dad's gone at work another day.
Yeah.
For me right now, it's a conviction because I feel like I need to work out because sadly, right, in our culture today, my job requires very little physical other than like in fights with the kids like the other night. Like a broken rib. But like other than that, which doesn't happen very often, thank the Lord. But when, typically I come home and I've done nothing, right? I've sat on my butt and it's like, so you can do work projects with the boys. If you're thinking ahead, like how do I keep myself in shape? Because in the old days, everybody farmed and most people were pretty healthy because their physical exercise was part of their life.
Yeah.
Now it's not. So here I am thinking, okay, I don't want to do this. I really want to do something aerobically for like 40 minutes. Then I want to do weights for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and be done. So I'll look for these windows. I'll call Lori every day when I'm coming home from work. What are you guys doing right now? And she knows what I'm asking is, do I have time to jump in and do this without basically stealing again from my kids? Because Angus needs conversations. Briar wants to go fix the power washer and, spend some time doing something with her, right? Ren needs to do, whatever we're doing. Or I can go be selfish and say, well, I got to be in shape. And that's true. And again, you have to be really careful when you hear this because we're not condemning self-care. We're not condemning, the need to get away once in a while and have some, me time. I get that. But man, you're a dad.
Well, I think the theory behind that is true, which is that you do need to take some time every now and then. I think our culture has shifted that and taken it sort of to maybe some extremes, definitely some extremes in some aspects. Like, you're the most important thing. You have to prioritize you first. Otherwise, if you don't put your mask on first, the kid's going to, you can't put your kids, they use the airplane mask thing. And while that's sort of true sometimes, I think we just take it to the extreme. And I think, like with working out, like right now, I get to go because the kids are young enough to where they're not having conversations, and thank God they still take 2 to 3 hour naps every day. Yep. So it's perfect because usually I can get away to the gym. But a conversation we're having literally this week is we probably have to kind of build up a home gym because that time is quickly leaving.
Yeah.
And you can work out with your kids.
Drive time. That's why my wife was always like, I want you to join the Life Center in Branson because, they have everything you need for your health. And I'm like, no. And I want to work out. I like it, but I'm not going to drive 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. That's another hour. So exactly. I know I won't do it. So why waste the mental energy thinking about it? So we got, Marketplace, found an elliptical or, treadmill, whatever. And get something used and maybe not the fanciest, stick it in your garage or wherever you can. But figure I'm a dad right now. So I really do have to stack my day around being a dad because 8 hours, probably minimum, you're at work.
Yeah.
And then you're going to sleep another 6 or 8 hours, at home. So you got about a 4-hour window per day, maybe at best, to influence your kids. And if you're spending that on your phone or you're spending that in front of the television or working out, it's well, you just lost it. So it is about balance, but you may have to get up earlier. You may have to just shift things a little bit for a while. And, be grateful, I guess, for what you've got. Count your cost before jumping into something. And if you already have kids, it's too late. You just figure out, okay, I want to pay on the front end or I want to pay on the back end. Meaning I'm going to lose my kid. Because you will. I mean, I've done Future Men, I've done for 24 years. And it's parents come in with heavy hearts because no one likes to see their kid hurt and it stinks. It's rough. It's not always. Sometimes that's caused by an absentee father. Sometimes that's caused by terrible friendships or whatever's got in that way. Or sometimes it's just, the kid. But there's always factors. We're just saying, hey, don't you be the factor, right? Be the dad that's there.
What I've seen often is this has kind of been common, being so tied up with work in the early childhood years. And then whenever, especially sons hit their teen years, they are starting to view their dad in a very negative light because what has happened is the dad really hasn't shown up except for when the mom is in over her head.
Yes.
And she's like, I need your help.
Which usually means the kid is in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah. Which means he's in trouble. And so it's a negative interaction with the father. And so now dad is always the bad guy. Dad is always seen as the overbearing one.
Well, or he's seen as emasculated because the kid knows Dad's really not mad at me right now. Dad doesn't care. Dad just kind of wants to get this over with too. And these kids are perceptive, man. I hear a lot of stories. They know. So keep going.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay.
I was just gonna end there.
Yeah, that's rough. Mm-hmm. But as a dad, right? It's if you're being a reactive parent, it's gonna wear you out. Because you will not run out of situations to be reactive to. When they're real little, right, it wears you out physically if you're not training their children, right? It just kind of they beat you down. You try to give up, put them in front of a TV or do something to make your life easier. Or you could train them, right? Have them where they listen and obey. And then as they get older, it really will be more of a mental shift where they're wearing you out mentally because they have lots of questions. They got worldviews that are being shaped. You're going to be tired. Parenting is work. It's bold parenting is if you're actually going to do it boldly, it's tough, man. It's a commitment. But if you see it that way, and every day you and your wife are praying together, you're talking about it, you're like encouraging each other, you'll make it. And you'll have like, at the end of the day, clean hands. Lord willing, there'll be some, temporary, like reward. You maybe see your kids doing well. They might not. You're not promised that. But it's like you're definitely more likely to have that happen, especially at least in relationships. My goodness.
Yeah. So one more quick thing on hobbies, and I want to kind of move on to like what about jobs?
Yeah,
because that does take on a whole nother thing. But with the hobbies, I just want to say like if you're, and maybe I'm just saying this because I have like young kids and I have we still have some luxury time.
Yeah, you have to evaluate it again.
If you're passionate, I don't know why golf keeps coming up because I'm not really passionate about golf. I just like sports.
Sounds like you are.
Well, no, I just like sports, and it's like the fun sport right now, right?
Yeah,
you're passionate about golf,
we golf,
or you're passionate about running or biking or triathlon, whatever it is. Sometimes it means like, man, if it really matters that much, where you're like, I can't live without this. If it's not an idol, if it's an idol, that's a whole nother conversation. Do it. Just understand that you might have to wake up at 4 a.m. and then not be grouchy when you get home from work because you're tired. You still have to show up. And so it's sort of like you said, it's count the cost, like choose the hills to die on. If that's a hill to die on for you, there's no issue there, provided it's not negatively impacting your true responsibilities.
Okay, so let me give you an example. So JJ, right? They got at our parenting class.
Oh yeah, not to call anybody out by name.
Let's call him GG.
Let's call him KK.
All right, KK. That sounds like so feminine. KK, if you're listening, I hope you are listening. First of all, but like he was heavy into a cycling group, and they're amazing men. A lot of discipleship in that. A lot of friendship, like goofing around. It's an amazing thing. But he's now got his third child on the way, and he's realizing I can't do this like I did. So what does he do? Right, he's getting like these child strollers. He's getting his wife involved with like a walking regime. Right, they're doing a lot of things together.
A walking regime. Like, that sounded like he's forcing his wife to work out.
He is, but it's pretty cool because she's feeling like, man, this is a cool time of our life because we're together. He's still able to keep in shape. He's not like what he wants to be doing. He would like to be out there just busting on the bike and like feeling like, man, $1 million. But it's like, well, right now, your kids are more important.
That's what you signed up for.
It's a sacrifice, yeah. But it's like, but you can still stay in shape. He's finding a way to be like, okay, I don't want to just become lethargic. And I want my health to be good. So he's replacing what he did with something that can involve the kids. The other example would be like Angie's husband Brad, like when they were like a long time ago, friendships. He loved to fish, but he went from being like all focused on like professional fishing to I'm teaching my kids to fish. And they did it together for years and like had a lot of fun. He was still fishing, right? But now it's like my kids are with me. And yeah, you will not catch as many. You will not have like the peace necessarily, but it's a different kind of stuff that comes to you joy-wise, watching your kids learn.
Yeah, it's just it's just a new hobby.
Yeah.
New shape of it. And it's not to say like he probably still fish. Like JJ still goes and bikes with the guys. It's just like he's not every week anymore.
And he's pretty bad now.
He's
JJ, if you're listening,
he's
you
horrible.
Suck.
My first interaction with him was him holding on my bike seat while I pedaled up a horrible hill in Hollister. So thanks, JJ.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love you, JJ.
But it's like you still go. It's just once a month now. It's not 2 or 3 times a week how it used to be after work.
Yep.
And so, I feel like that's kind of good touching on hobbies. Is just realizing your responsibilities change. You did sign up for this, so you kind of have to. This is where it comes to like dying to yourself and parenting.
Say that again. That verse, right? Take up your cross daily. Because Christ is asking us, what does it mean to really follow me?
Yeah.
And honestly, we make it way too spiritual or we platitude it to death. And it's like, well, you're a dad, dummy. And it's like, that's what it means right now. That's how you're showing your love of God is how you're showing your love for your kids.
Yeah.
This is what dying to self looks like today. Tomorrow it might be different. It could be worse. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But today it's just, the joy is you have kids, right?
And I think... I keep saying we're going to move on from this and then not moving on.
We're camping here.
But the last thing is, I heard, I watched, I mentioned Instagram Reels a lot. I watched a reel the other day. Apparently, I'm just addicted to social.
Yeah, let's have an episode on that.
Oh gosh. Okay, so anyway, and it was this dad, and they have 7 or 8 kids, and he was saying the saddest thing I ever hear is that teenagers are the worst years.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's only true if you didn't do your job when they were young. He's like, I have 5 teenagers. He's like, I've never had this much fun. And it's sort of like where you're at coming into now, where Finn is 12 or 13.
Yeah, she's
and
youngest.
It's kind of funny because you couldn't carve for years because you had a million little kids. And now you're carving again, and so is Nash, and so is Angus, and so is Briar, and so is Sawyer, and some, like all to some extent.
All my good kids.
Yeah, sorry. I disappointed you there again.
You did. Even Carver, who I named Carver, can't even handle a knife. Carver, if you're listening, go buy a knife.
He can handle a jet.
Yeah, well, not yet.
That's kind of cool.
Asa would debate that, but yeah.
He can handle a jet simulator.
There
Good
you
job,
go.
Carver. Way to go. Way to serve the
I
country.
don't want him trained
Wait,
too fast.
I thought he flew a jet.
I think he's flown in trainers, like
Oh.
T-38s.
Oh,
love
Did you,
Carver.
did you
trainers.
guys hear that?
Oh.
I just named the name of a trainer, T-38.
I don't know if that's true or not.
T stands for trainer.
Oh, does it really?
It actually does.
So
Like an
L94 is way better.
No, F-16, that's a fighter.
Easy.
Anyway, sorry. So
Chill out over there.
your hobby, if you do your job when you're little, your kids join you again when they're teens, and now you
Yes.
have a real relationship. Now
Well,
they
it was
respect
real
you,
when they were
and
little.
I think it's a blast. I mean, I hope it's a blast. I'm hoping it is. Otherwise,
What, did you have fun
I'm
when you were a
doomed.
teenager at our house? There's how you figure it out.
I didn't really have any hobbies. Like all of your hobbies.
You were a
Did our
woodworker.
relationship change?
Oh,
Think about
yeah.
the cars we restored. Now, you weren't really into that either.
I wasn't into cars,
But
and
this
I
is-
wasn't into carving, so Dad
But this
hated
is sort
me.
of a point. Well, I had 9 sons. You got to figure it out like there's a balance somewhere.
Which
like-
ones I want to spend time with?
I love old cars, right? I love them. And it's like, okay, so we can do really, really good, high quality old car restorations and make decent money at it, or not. And we chose the or not. We said, let's make driver quality that the kids are learning to weld. The kids are learning to do some body work. The kids
Yeah.
are learning, all of a sudden it produces like a subpar product, but it's still cool. And they're learning, and it's like, again, adjust your expectations, adjust your hobbies, die to self.
So that's on hobbies.
Yep.
So what about the job that requires you to be working? What are the dads are out there having to pull
Yeah.
60, 70 hours a week? And let's say genuinely required to pull that, whether it's a job commitment or they have to make that amount of money to keep their wives at home.
Yeah.
What do you
nowadays,
do then?
Sadly, that's a great question. A lot of prayer.
Come
honestly.
back next week.
Yeah. No, but it's a whole different beast. And you got to be fair. You are providing. That's your job. I would be looking, if you've got more than 1 or 2 kids, I would actively be seeking a way to be home more. You do need the money. There's no doubt about it. But it does come at a cost. And you may not have a choice, and I'm not judging you, but it's that's something you're going to have to keep continuing to pray about, ask God about, and just trust Him with the results. Meaning, you may still have to keep working. But when you are home, oh my goodness, it's not that, again, it's a platitude. Well, it's quality time versus quantity time. It's well, that's true in the sense of most dads come home for a good amount of time and do nothing, right? And that's not good. But you are going to have to be super hyper-focused on when I am home. We're meeting for discipleship. I'm fixing things that my wife needs, fixed around the house. I'm doing it all, and it will feel a little bit like poor me, woe is me. I'm just wore out, and you might be for a while. But I think you're gonna have to be way more proactive in keeping lists of the things that are priority. Nathan West, one of the guys that works for me, he gave me his little discipleship card the other day that he carries in his wallet, and it's got a list of questions that you ask yourself, when you're meeting with your discipleship partner. And I was looking that over, putting something together for our church. You almost need that for you when you come home from work on your dash of your truck. Okay, I want to do these 3 things for sure tonight, right? So the guy drives in from a long day at work, and he's knowing, okay, my wife has been cooking for the kids, doing school stuff, all these lists of things. I need to be sure to ask these questions, do these events with my family before whatever you really want to do. Because you probably really want to just take a shower and just, relax. And some days you can. That's going to be part of that'll be part of it, but it probably won't be a very big part for a long time.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said here for, hopefully, right? If this is something that's required, I think there's 2 sort of camps to hopefully find encouragement in. One is that there's a season and a time for everything.
Yep.
And especially if you're a younger guy trying to get started out, maybe trying to get out of student debt, trying to buy a house or whatever, the reality is you're going to be pulling a lot of hours, and you're still going to be pulling a lot of hours at home too. And yes, that sucks. And yes, it's tiring. And yes, you kind of want to quit and make a whole lot less money, or probably more likely, because we all have the wrong priorities, come home and just not be very present, to go to bed so you can go to work tomorrow. And so there's a season for everything. And so understanding that and being okay with this is just a season that's going to be really tiring. Like I remember a season at Future Men where it was always super stressful, or you were in court, like we talked about a little bit last week, like fighting to make sure like Future Men could like stay alive essentially. And so dealing with that sort of stuff, like there's seasons for that.
Yeah.
And now there's seasons for now where like you get to come home and like chill with the kids sometimes and relax and play, read a book with Finn on the couch.
Yahtzee.
Well, there were seasons for like, I don't know. I just think that there's just be encouraged that this probably isn't forever.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll touch on just briefly here, because this is a whole nother podcast probably, is Dave Ramsey and all these financial people, they all have a lot of opinions. But I was listening to something the other day that I think is right, which is that there's a lot of complaints from young families today that it's impossible to like buy a house and get a job or a good, well-paying job and like pay things off.
Yeah.
And I think something to look at if you're in this position is really, truly evaluate your standard of living. And are you selling your relationships with your kids for an extra bedroom on your house or for a newer car that maybe you don't quite need?
Right.
And I think that there's just a high standard of living currently, and we all kind of want what our parents had, but they had that after 30 years of being married or 20 years of being married and working hard and all that. And so I think we have this idea of coming out of college and immediately buying a big house, 2 new cars, and then start having kids. And we've worked ourselves into this requirement of now I have to work 70 hours a week or we go broke.
Yeah. So when you're doing your discipleship as the absentee dad, right? Like I could fall into this category super easy.
Yeah.
Again, I would take more structure. I would have your reminders with you. And when you are with your sons and daughters and you're meeting one-on-one, I would be telling them, okay, how do you pray for me? How can I pray for you? Meaning, tell me exactly what's going on in your life and figure these things out. Don't ask the like, how was school today questions, but rather like, okay, I know you were struggling with, right? Like fitting into this particular group of kids or being patient with your little brother or whatever it is. Have your questions for that kid with follow-up so they know dad cares. Because even if you're gone, I think like notes, that you can be writing notes, you can be like calling them because everybody's got phones now. And that's the first thing you should honestly check. I hate to say this like guilt trip, but like look at your stinking phone, figure out like, how much time are you spending each week on the phone outside of like your work calls, outside of anything you feel you can justify like before God. Like you're looking at the Bible app, when you're, in the dark in your room because it's your first quiet space you've had, right? And that's your devotions. I'm not counting that. I'm just saying the waste of time stuff, look at it and be honest and think, okay, I've only got, let's say 12 waking hours a week with my kids. Because some guys, that's all they've got. And you spend 3 of it on the phone, for no reason, honestly. It's like, this is dumb. I can't do this. I'm going to lose something. Right?
Well, not to be personal, but I looked at my screen time the other day, and it wasn't even like, there was definitely too much of like, there's always social media, but then there's also just a lot of stuff that I'm like, that's like quote unquote productive, but I don't really need to be on there. Like I can get that done and like I can check my email 6 times a day, but like what's the point? I have to maybe check it once a day, maybe once every other day. So, I just went through and deleted everything off my phone except what I need to be on call for work and, for family stuff. And so that's something that, like, again, we say it often on here. We're not trying to be like, oh, you're on your phone too much, you're a horrible dad. It's like, it's a struggle all the time.
Yep.
It's a constant battle. Zane, we had a talk with a mom the other day who kind of wanted to see her husband step up more in the home and be less absent. And it wasn't a time issue. It seemed like more of a participation sort of issue. And one of the things she said that she thought was holding him back was that he wasn't raised with a very present father figure. So what do you say to that dad who's in the spot where he's like, I want to be there for my kids. Maybe I have the
What
time.
does it look like?
I don't even know what it looks like.
Yeah.
What do you tell him?
You don't have to be perfect. I think that's a big message because I think most fathers are just kind of like at a loss. Like, yeah, my dad never did that with me. I was lucky if he came to my games or those types of things. So you have somebody that's wanting to do it, just not sure. It's like, well, just start. Just like start meeting with them and start trying to have conversations and let it be awkward, let it be weird, because it probably will be because you've never seen it and you've never done it with that child. But eventually you'll start figuring out a groove. You'll start figuring out, oh, actually, I kind of know what's going on in my kid's life in this way, so I can ask more questions about that. Or I know some of their likes and their dislikes, so we can actually like plan something fun to do together. But it just takes time. Like you have to start doing it.
Be encouraged in it. So like running Future Men for all these years, it really does continue to always blow my mind. These kids want to talk, and it's like we don't even know them. And on the applications, the parents will say many, many times, you know, he shuts us out. He won't talk to us. He isolates. And it's like they already know there's 1 to 2 hours a week of you know, individual discipleship and they have to do. And the kids just they'll start talking. I got kids volunteering in my worldview classes. They're raising their hands. They want to chime in on what's going on. Like, it blows my mind. It's like, this is the kid that was, you know, the big middle finger up to dad and mom, but they want to talk. So to me, I'm thinking, okay, that means, right, that somebody was discouraged along the way, dad or mom or kid, and just thought it's not worth it, or they don't want me to do this, so we kind of quit. I just say, don't quit. Keep doing it. It will get more comfortable. It's like leading worship when your kids are little. You're singing, you just feel like, this is lame. Why am I doing this? And you get used to it. And then pretty soon it's like, we always do this. And pretty soon it's like, we can't live without it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same thing. You just got to be there and just start doing it, but make a list. So like with your wife, right? You guys may sit there and say, okay, let's look at like what this can look like. Have her help. It's like it's like like when you come home, if I'm focusing on dinner, there's an hour and a half window, or there's a 40-minute window where it'd be more helpful if that's when you chose to do family worship, because it kind of keeps the kids out of like my hair for a minute, so I get this stuff done, and then we can all be together. You know what I'm saying? It's like just coordinated. Laura and I have done a lot of like restacking the deck. Okay, now let's try this. Let's do it this way a little bit until you find what gives you the most productive use of your time, I guess. And it will switch. But again, you're young. Some of you are listening. Some of you are old, and some of you are like struggling. But like, figure out where you're at. Get accountability. Get a plan. Write the questions, the podcast stuff. You know, hate to keep plugging that, but it's like, well, that's what we're doing it for, though.
That's what it's there for.
So use it. So say, hey, here's my situation. I can't figure it out. Help.
Yeah. On sort of what you were saying, Zane, there's an old book we had to read. We grew up riding horses, and before we could, quote unquote, like have a horse, we had to read the book. You know what book I'm talking about?
I don't remember.
There are no problem horses.
Billy Monkey?
Only problem riders.
That was Meryl's book. She liked that book.
Well, I had to read it. Maybe Meryl made me read it. I don't know. But
it's interesting, yeah.
But it was a good book, and the cover is a lie. Like, there are problem horses.
Oh yeah.
Right. But the point of the book wasn't to say that. It was to say that. I just remember the only thing I really learned from that book is when you're on top of the horse, A, you're in charge. B, you have to be consistent. You always have to do the exact same thing. And parenting is sort of the same way. Like, there are no problem kids. There are only problem parents. We should name our podcast that.
There are no problem kids.
Only problem parents. And again,
3 followers.
That's not really true. But it is true in the sense of you have to show up consistently and in the same way.
Yeah.
And when we're talking to that, sort of to circle back to that dad, I think one of the first things you do, if you grew up without a father in the home, you don't know how to be there emotionally in that way for your kids. I think the first thing you do is, sit down, talk with your wife, like figure this out, talk through it, and then go get a mentor, like a father figure, like someone to disciple you. Because I think that's where you're going to learn most of all. And if you're not getting it, well, then like you're probably not going to be doing it the best to your kids. Would you agree with that?
100%. So let's put feet to it because it's hard. So Walker had to do this when he moved to Tennessee because he was trying to find discipleship so bad.
Walker is
my second oldest son.
Yeah.
So he moves away, and I'm telling him, you need older man involved in your life. So he finally made little cards, put his name, his phone number, write his email, and then sort of like, here's what I'm wanting. And it was like, every other week, just accountability, challenged me to grow. And he would give those to men that he saw in the church that seemed like this guy just
legit.
Yeah, he just seems like it at least. You don't really know him. But like even at our men's discipleship at church, these guys fill out these little questionnaires, and it's like you hodgepodge them together. You're praying about it, and you're hoping, you're trusting that God is allowing these relationships to begin to form. But like JJ and I were talking about the other day, he's like, this guy you gave me, I don't know who he is. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's the point of discipleship. And it's like, you don't have to have a relationship with him already. You don't have to even care about him. He might annoy you, but it's like, but there's something about this. I'm willing to meet with you. I'm willing to answer these questions for you, help you grow in the areas you think you need growth in. Then you'll start seeing areas that he needs growth in, right?
Yeah.
But if you ask an older man in your church, or maybe at work that he's a believer or whatever, and you have that little card, that's weird, right? The guy that gets that's going to look at that and think, he's going to feel a little awkward at first, but when it sinks in, though, he's going to be like, man, this guy's like wanting help.
Right.
The church should be, I would gladly step up into that role. I'll do this. That's amazing. Or help you find somebody that can, right? Like, because even if the guy told, like my son Walker, it's like, hey, I can't do this right now. My season of life doesn't allow for it, but I think I know who might. There's your lead. I don't think Walker cared necessarily how it got to a good relationship, just that it went to a good relationship. So, but it takes humility. I mean, when Walker used to because I'd ask him every week, did you find somebody yet? No. Have you found somebody yet? No. Then when he did, it was pretty cool because it was like it gave him some hope, it gave him some joy. It was like, and he went through a couple guys before like landing on something that was more consistent for him. But this is what it looks like. You got to physically do something. They're not going to magically come to you, and if they do, it might seem offensive at first. They might be approaching you about your kids or about like, hey, why are you guys never really at church? Or, hey, this seems like there's a lot of angst going on in your family. Can we help? Then you might be defensive. But your church elders, your church pastor might be another good resource to just ask them, here's what I'm wanting. Any suggestions? See what they say.
Yeah.
But get desperate. I mean, get out there and get the help you need.
It's not worth the a lot of people, I was just reading a book that says this isn't me, this is Matt Chandler, but he said one of the biggest things, they really try to push discipleship at their church. And what he hears a lot is basically like we can't afford to do it because we do sports, we do work, we do this, we do that, we do this, we do that. And there's always a million excuses. And he always tells them, he's like, it's so trite, but he's like, you can't afford not to do it.
Yeah.
You do this and it's sort of your only option because otherwise, what's the alternative? Like you raise an 18-year-old and maybe God has a great plan for them and supersedes your incompetence in some ways,
He will. Yep.
And he definitely can. But you still don't know your kid, not on that level, right? Or you don't do your job, you don't teach your kids the truth, and they walk up and maybe they don't follow that. And then in a way that partially falls on you in the sense of your responsibility was to teach them and to show them, and you kind of lost it.
So we need to hit something real quick. I was thinking this earlier.
Let's not hit anything. That's violent, which would be bad in discipleship.
I feel a need to hit. How are we doing on time?
You're good.
So you got to look at what you're already doing. You may have to make some adjustments. I know it's going to stink. It's going to be hard, especially for your kids at first. But like if you guys are playing, let's say soccer, we'll just pick a sport, and you got two kids playing it, and the dad's really, really busy, and Saturdays, it's like, yes, you're with your kid. That's fine. I get it. Yeah, I'm involved in his life. I take him to soccer games, and he doesn't talk to you at all because he's playing soccer. And then afterwards, you go out to dinner with the soccer players or whatever you're doing, right? It's like if your whole day revolves around an event, that's not really discipleship. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but you may have to just say, you know what? We can't do this. Like I was talking to Eric the other day, and it's like he was telling me they're in the process of evaluating again this event in their kids' lives, and it's like it might not be worth it right now. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Good call, right? You keep evaluating.
Well, just on that, I was talking to one of our therapists yesterday at work because I was trying to get him to come play Frisbee with us on Fridays. And he's like, oh, I can't. He's like, I coach basketball. I'm like, you coach basketball? Because he's very white and he's not very tall and he doesn't seem super athletic. He's like, I coach my kids' team. Otherwise, my kid can't play. I'm like, what do you? I was like, they won't let him? He's like, well, no. It's just like if I'm not the coach, then I'm not spending any time with him. So why would I let him play? And I was like, that's an interesting take.
I've seen a lot of dads do that. I think
that's pretty good.
That's wise if you're convinced I want my kid to do sports.
Yeah,
it's a way better use of time than like not being the coach. Is it still the best use of time? You got to decide that.
Yeah.
I would tend to think, I had a lot of kids, so I can't really compare my life. We had 14 kids, so I can't say.
You owned a basketball team.
You're all doing your own sport. It's like, we just said, you know what? Nobody's doing sports. Welcome to you guys. You're going to be weird and awkward when you get to college. But it's like, right?
And didn't that pan out?
But there's relationships. And I'm like, you know what? If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't do it anything differently, except that when I was, patterns of sin and stuff that I would wish I could change, right? But I wouldn't invest time. If anything, I'd look for more time. Not, I wish we would have played this or done that. But I never think that. Never. And it's like, again, if you got a weird anomaly kid that's just God has given him the genes of something that he obviously needs to pursue. Those kids are there once in a while. Great. You have a weird natural phenomenon. It's like, sure, be a good steward of that. Most of us push and then get to the point where like, yeah, you'll probably never do anything with this. The baseball, it was fun for the last 6 years of every Sunday, every Friday, every this, and like, and you got nothing out of it. You say, oh no, we got teamwork, we got encouragement,
work ethic.
It's like, okay, there might be a better way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying evaluate. And evaluate openly and honestly with your wife. And it's like, you just got to think about it. So it sounds like a lot of guilt trips and this is a weird podcast. I don't want you guys to feel like, oh, we just father bashed. You got to think about it.
Yeah. And I mean, it goes back to that verse in Ephesians 6 that tells fathers not to provoke their children to anger. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times we're like, oh, well, don't just don't say something mean to them or whatever. But I think we've talked about it before, but part of like what can be provoking to your kids is not showing up in the way that a father is supposed to show up, and leading them.
Right.
Because that's what God has put you in their life to do. And they're looking for that leadership. They're looking for that masculine authority in their life. And if they don't find it, they look for it in other areas. Like a lot of times I see rap culture, which is odd, but it kind of takes the place, or drug culture, or all these other like high, like masculine, like energy areas in their life. They're going to go find it somewhere.
Gym bros,
yeah. Or sports. Sometimes it's sports.
Well, for me, I remember being in high school, and this is something to encourage you dads. I remember when I went out for the football team, my dad said I could, and I remember getting all the equipment, and I remember like, probably the first like week or two or maybe month, I don't know, super excited, super happy that my dad let me. And I know my dad probably felt like, I'm a real good guy. I'm a really awesome hero because I look at my kid's doing this. This is neat. And look how happy he is. And that's true. And that is a tempting, like, it must be good because he's happy. And it's like, but in the long run, when I think of all the time and energy spent, it's like, and all the neck problems I have today because of it, I'm like, I don't really think that was the best use.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just got to like, your kid's happiness isn't the gauge. Fast forward, you're the parent, right? Fast forward and think, okay, what are we going to get out of this? Is it really the best use of our time? Because the Bible says, redeeming the time because the days are evil. And it's like, we're going to give account for every idle word. I think that also means every idle thing, activity we're doing as well, including, movie nights with your families. It's like movie nights they can be dangerous too, in the sense of like, you just got to, evaluate, what's it producing? And if we do this every Friday night, that's 2 hours a week of like, we weren't talking, we were together. And I'm not saying it's bad, but it's like, you just got to evaluate everything.
I think, again, the purpose of this episode isn't to father bash, but it is to, I think the reality of being a dad is you are called to a pretty high standard, and sometimes it feels exhausting and sometimes it feels lonely. And there's this really stupid quote I saw at Bubba Gumps once that said, the leader of the pack, of the wolf pack, or I don't know what kind of pack. It's talking about sled dogs, looks to the left and right and sees no one. And I think that quote is so stupid. But sometimes it's kind of true. Sometimes you feel like, man, I'm the only one. I'm pulling this team. I have to do this. And that is your calling. And don't be discouraged in that, but be encouraged that, A, there's a season for everything, and that it does get better, and sometimes it gets worse.
Yeah.
And that, B, like, there's no greater calling. And when we talk about calling and what God calls you to, nowhere in the Bible does God call any of us to comfort or to ease or to a really fun life. Like, he calls you, like you said, to take up your cross and follow me. And that doesn't look like, man, I'm giving it all up sometimes. Sometimes it means like, this is not the time to sit in the chair and chill. It's the time to like take my kid and go for a walk, or go have that hard conversation, or, go do whatever. Go play blocks for the 4th time with a 5-year-old that doesn't really get it yet.
Just don't do trampoline because it gives me a headache.
Yeah, that was Dad's classic excuse growing up, is if he didn't want to do something, he would say it gave him a headache.
Which is true,
and
but probably self-induced.
But the best is, I remember this specifically. Angus ran up to Dad, and someone asked, or Angus did, he was there. Someone ran up to Dad and was like, hey, do you want to go play Legos? And Angus goes, I already asked. He has a headache. So don't be like Dad and don't have headaches. You didn't do it that often.
Now, I will say this, right? Last word.
Oh.
Nobody's going to do this perfectly. We all suck. This podcast is not us saying, look, we did it great. You guys haven't even done it yet. And I definitely didn't do it great, right? But it's like, we're just saying, please be intentional.
Yes.
Please ask for help, right? Get help. Again, do all the stuff that Silas tells you about, I don't know, questions and wherever they go and all that stuff. But like, and with your church, ask help, get help. You're going to need it. This is not you're not the leader of a sled dog team, as Silas just said.
So if you're the mom or the dad and you feel alone, then we have a solution. You can go join our school community and get surrounded by other moms and other dads in very similar boats. I just read a comment on there like 5 minutes ago from a mom that we actually know from college. And she was talking about how they feel like they're in the trenches because they have a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 8-month-old.
They are in the trenches.
I'm like, those are the trenches. But now she gets encouragement. I'm like watching these people comment from 4 older moms who had kids at those same ages, but they're now 10, 12, 13, and 14. It's way easier. It's different, but it's easier. So if you're in that spot, go join our school community, get connected with other parents. If you have any questions, you can email them to us at questions@futurefamiliesmedia.com. You can comment them on this video. If you would subscribe, it helps us a lot. If you would comment, it helps us a lot. Like this video, share it with your friends.
Please.
And if you're a dad, hang in there. If you're a mom, hang in there, and it's worth the fight.
Yep, be encouraged.
Bye.
Where's your inspirational?
You guys are doing great.
There we go. Thanks. All right, see ya.